Hi, my name is Mike Eline with the Circle of Legal Trust, and today I have Chris Dreyer. We're talking about some interesting stuff. The latest pigeon algorithm and some previous iterations, Google seemed to have sort of been favoring these larger, what we used to call mega sites, and the large, highly paid directories like Yelp and FindLaw and Avo. The ones that charge attorneys, typically a large sum of money to have a listing with a link back to their website. They now seem to have been dominating all the search results for injury attorneys and so on and other lawyers. We've seen, a trend, at least in the Circle of Legal Trust, with some of our members opting to buy these listings in Yelp and Avo so they could be at the top and cutting back on their pay-per-click spends in order to try to take advantage of that. I've done some of my own testing with past clients who use the internet. What I've determined based upon that testing is that most of these people, when they're searching for an attorney, they don't want to see a directory listing. They sort of look at Google already as the yellow pages, and they're not. They don't like being referred to another version of the yellow pages. They like the organic results the way Google has traditionally made them, which is a high information site. If it's for an attorney, it needs to be a really good lawyer website, not a directory of attorneys with lots of reviews that may or may not even be valid reviews because nobody really knows. But we have here Chris. He's going to expand upon is this trend going to continue? Can Google really keep this up? It seems like they're probably going to start losing money because of the directories now are taking the PPC spend away. But I have Chris here. He's got a bunch of other things he's going to talk about these big, giant, mega sites and big, highly paid directories. And how is a small guy like you with a small firm who's been following the rules and doing everything you were supposed to do, who's now fallen to the bottom of page 1 or maybe the top of page 2, and been replaced by a big directory site. How are you going to be able to weather the storm? So Chris has some tips and some ideas about the future and where this is really headed. So go ahead, Chris, take it away.
Okay, thanks, Michael. I appreciate it.
Sure.
And also, guys, just to let you know, I'm going to be talking about a lot of things, and I will be answering some of your questions at the end of this. But we're just going to go right into it. So first, how does FindLaw and these sites, how are they ranking? And the big thing is they're funneling link juice from their own websites to their main site. And let me give you a quick example. Let me bring up a screen share here. Give me one moment. Okay, so if we're at the FindLaw site, and it's a PR7, so in Google's eyes, it's very favorable. But if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, to the footer location, these are site-wide locations. These are areas that are getting a lot of link juice. You're going to see some anchored keywords: Atlanta lawyers, Boston lawyers. All of these are getting a ton of link juice, and it's funneling directly to these portals. So if we clicked on, for example, Miami lawyers, it has another gateway to where all of the attorney websites are at. And if you click on, the first listing, this Panter and Panter for a personal injury attorneys, and you go to your website, what you'll notice is at the bottom of this website is the FindLaw attribution. So almost all websites from FindLaw link back to their main site. So if you have if an attorney has a FindLaw site, it's going to be sending any links that they get. A percentage of that is going to be sent back to FindLaw. So in turn, they're creating this massive, basically, blog network, link network, whatever you may want to call it. That's how FindLaw is doing it. They have, Justia does it slightly different. They do these off-site blogs. Okay, so if we click on Peter Thompson Associates, just an example, we click on their blog, it's going to go to an off-site location, and what you'll notice is in this site-wide position on the horizontal menu, it's going to link back to their main site. So that means every single page, all of the content that they write is linking back to their main site. It's how they're funneling link juice essentially, back to their website. And what does Cuts have to say about this? So there's a great website. It's called The Shortcuts. It has every video from Matt Cutts, the head of their web spam. It has basic summaries for every video they've released about web spam. So the first one, this is 2009. This is older. But can my blog role affect my blog's reputation in Google? Only if you link to spam. Okay, so as long as you're linking to a legitimate business or a legitimate curated website, he's saying in 2009 it's not going to penalize you. And what's interesting is on a recent blog post by Rand Fishkin in the last month or so, he sent another email confirming this again. If you do link out to bad sites, it's going to penalize you. But if you link to good sites, Wikipedias and these brick and mortars, it won't penalize you. That's what he's saying in 2009 about blog roles. In 2012, how does Google consider site-wide backlinks, which is again, these footer links? What does he have to say about it? It's okay if they're natural. It's very subjective. What's natural when you're linking 10,000 links because they're on every page of your site back to another website, and that's exactly what FindLaw is doing with every website that they create. Is they're putting their link down at the bottom, and I can give you many examples of this. You can click around. I showed you the Panther Law. You can go to Dallas. Let me pull up some other ones here. This Bailey Galen. If you go down, these are difficult to see, but down at the very bottom, you'll notice the attribution, the FindLaw. And what it's doing is it's dividing your link juice that comes to that location to to the main site. Do you want to pick up right from there, Mike? You have anything to say about that?
Oh, well, hi everybody. It's glad to see people are kind of coming in. Yeah, there was something else that also goes on that I'm seeing is there's a lot of these attorney websites, they call them firm sites, where you'll look at like their resources page, and you'll see oftentimes that there'll be an exact match anchor to some other lawyer. Whether or not the actual attorney who paid for the firm site knows he's even linking to another law firm is questionable. I just think when they add the resources pages, they just link out to one of their other customers. But apparently this is perfectly legitimate, so I guess everybody should be doing it. What do you think, Chris?
Well, it's very common. You go to Moz.com, in the footer, they're going to have all of their businesses in the footer. You go to Avo, you go to Avo, they're going to have Avo Ignite directly in the footer. And these are on every single page of their site. So any inbound link on an interior page is going to directly travel to these locations. It's going to funnel that link juice to their main websites, and they're essentially creating these gigantic, link networks, which we've seen, My Blog Guest and some of these other sites get penalized for, but it's exactly what they're doing.
Well, do you think that it's related to the fact that they're considered to be quality sites, maybe?
Possibly. There definitely is curation. These are updated sites. One of the things they're probably looking at is the on-site dynamic of, what's the time on-site numbers? Are people navigating around the websites? Are these authority sites? So to some extent, yes, but it's kind of a double standard because I would argue that many people on My Blog Guest, and Smarties put together that great network. Many of the sites there that were doing exactly the correct things. They're delivering high quality content, and they were getting penalized because they were in a part of a blog network. Well, that's exactly what FindLaw is doing. That's what Justy is doing essentially with their offsite blogs. Is they're doing these blog roles so that they can just funnel all the link juice any interior page goes to specific locations that they want. Let me do another screen share really quick. Just to give you an example, let me activate this shortly.
You know, are these, while you're doing that, are these essentially just like guest blog posts, since the attorneys usually don't know each other?
These are, these are, fine law controlling these exactly. Guest posts, in general, you're going to get one backlink, from the location. I'm talking about sending thousands of backlinks. However many index pages they have is how many backlinks they're going to send. So if you go to FindLaw, their home page, for example, if we're back on that, you scroll all the way to the bottom. Let's see here. I don't know why that's okay. Give me 1 second. Scroll all the way to the bottom. You're going to see these local lawyers: Atlanta lawyers, Boston lawyers, Chicago. And if you do a keyword search, we went over to an incognito search. You type in Miami lawyers. You're going to find FindLaw number 2 right here, right behind lawyers.com, who's probably, and I haven't researched this, but probably doing the exact same thing. The same thing for, if you went back, here's St. Louis criminal defense lawyers at FindLaw. They're funneling this link juice around and just reaping the rewards, because every site that they create, they put that attribution down at the footer. If you type in Dallas lawyers, okay, here's another one down at the bottom. I'll just do this live.
I don't understand though, Chris, because didn't Matt Cutts say that you should only be linking to people who you have a relationship with? I mean, when you just pay some big company to write content for you, and you have them linking back and forth to people you don't even know, isn't that sort of going against what Matt Cutts says you're supposed to do?
It's exactly what he says you're not supposed to do. Yeah, it's absolutely a double standard. They basically want the best user experience, right? Pay per click. If your quality score isn't high, you're not getting a good click-through rate, they're gonna penalize you. You're not gonna stay at those top 3 positions. You're gonna go to the bottom. It doesn't matter if the average cost per click is $20 and you're spending $35, they're not gonna put you up there. Okay, so I think it's kind of a double standard. He's just saying, in general, if you're trying to manipulate the system and you're sending these site-wide links, then you're going to get penalized. But as we can tell by FindLaw, by Justia, by Avo, by Moz, they are all doing this. They're all linking their networks together. Even Google themselves do it. They say to put the no follow attribute, and everything's okay. But we all know that the do follow backlinking in Google's eyes is the best. Okay, they did correlation studies in 2013 and showed it was one of the biggest factors to rankings. So that hasn't changed. One of the biggest ways, most important ways to rank in the search engines is to get authoritative links from external sites. There's only so much on-site SEO you can do. You have your Go ahead, Michael.
I was going to say, what other sites, what other companies do this that are doing well? Are there any other ones like there's one called Dragon or something, Dragon Web Design?
There's a bunch. Scorpion does it. Pretty much if you look at a website design company and you look at their footer attribution links, they're going to have their link in there. Just do a backlink search. And there's something to be said. They say, get a few authoritative links, get some, but there's something to be said about quantity as well. And we definitely know that because of the number of links that you get from FindLaw compared to these site-wide blog rolls compared to one link from Better Business Bureau or a couple links from Yahoo Directory, even though these are page rank 8 and higher links. I'm going to do another quick screen share just to give you another example of concrete proof where there's these blog roll type site-wide links that just send exceptional value. Let me do another screen share really quick. Let's take a look. I'm using a tool called Ahrefs. It's going to look at your backlinks of a competing law firm. So that Peter Thompson, Peter-Thompson-associates.com, which is who I was talking about earlier. Look at their backlink profile. This is nothing against them, but they're ranking in these top positions. They don't have a ton of linking domains, but yet that external blog, the main injury lawyer blog, sent in 1,468 links. Lawyers.com, 499. Justia, this 391. They also own, I believe, Cornell EDU here for 57. They also own this OYEZ.org. So this is, this isn't a ton of linking domains. This is, sending a ton of links from one domain. That's also why, and if you do a search in the most competitive areas on the net, you're going to see time and time again HD.org at the top. In this example, it's sent in 976 links. If we just pull up HD.org, I believe they're at page rank 7 or 8.
But they only allow one do-follow link now. They turned off all their link juice.
Well, all of the interior are no-follow, and this is a whole different discussion, but all of those no-follow go to the main do-follow page. So there's a whole theory around no-follow on-site actually passing juice between the page because there was some theories. It's a whole different discussion about funneling link juice, but that's what they do essentially as well. They set up all these internal pages. They have a lot of content, a bio page, everything of that nature, and they direct it to one source. So they're essentially funneling that link juice to one editorial link that's a do follow.
So you think that there's probably a good indication that no follow links on site really still pass the juice?
Oh, absolutely. I can't say that 100%. Only Matt Cutts could and his team, but there's been too many correlation studies to deny it. I mean, look at the 2013 ranking factors. He's saying add these no follow attributes to everything, but there again, there's proof that they do have something to do with SEO.
Yeah, well, I'll just cut in for a second. They, as far as I know, they definitely do matter when it comes to the overall weight. If Google sees a site that's real heavy with do-follow links, they look at that as potential unnatural attempts to manipulate the rankings. I think that the sites that do the best tend to have a 50 to 60 or even higher percent of no-follow versus do-follow links. I mean, I think that the studies and everything that I've just done, the testing that I've done, sort of proves that. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, I totally agree. Look at Wikipedia, how many no-follow links they have. It goes back to the user experience, all the internal links. If the site, I think there's going to be a much higher emphasis. Sorry, my voice kind of raised there. Of on-site signals for time on site and navigating around the website than just their their backlink profile in general. But right now, it's just the biggest ranking factor is the number of inbound links, the quality of the links. They have a couple checks, right? So we showed you a few references of where Cutts has said, blog girls are fine as long as you're not linking out to spam. And then he'll say in other instances in a 2013 video to not blog girl and not use anchor text. But a couple of the big algorithms, Panda is mostly checking for on-site signals as far as we know, right? Duplicate content, thin content, user experience. And Penguin is checking for off-site signals, and one of the big ways to get penalized are from too many uses of anchor text keywords. So everyone's shifting to these co-citations and branded links, and that's kind of how FindLaw's getting around it too, right? So they're getting, their branded FindLaw in the footer of all the websites that they're creating. But if you go on their site, directly on their internal links, they're going to have, Chicago lawyers, Miami lawyers, keyword anchors funneling that link juice around because the on-site signals aren't as dangerous because It's an algorithm check. So with that, with what you said, then yeah, 50% of branded links, there's much higher emphasis on branded links is very important, or else you're going to hit that constant penguin algorithm check, or whatever, whatever you want to call it. We know that if you link too often with specific keywords, you're going to get penalized. I mean, there's no doubt about it. There's too many studies, and that's why people are cleaning up. That's why they're going to remove them, and link research tools, link detox, to try to get rid of these backlinks, is because there are too many branded anchors. People have made the mistake of throwing these keyword anchors in directories, and now they're at the mercy of these directories because the disavow tool only helps so much.
Yeah, that's what I think too. That disavow tool still doesn't clean up the internet, which is their ultimate goal. They really want to see it removed from the index completely.
Right, and who really knows how they're utilizing the disavow tool? Are they doing it on a case-by-case basis where they're manually reviewing it? If you just go, and I can tell you from many instances of working with a lot of law firms, if you go and you just disavow all the bad links, your penalty, your manual penalty, is not going to change. Nothing's going to happen. What you have to do is get those manually removed. Unfortunately, a lot of these directories are going to charge you a bounty now to remove these. So not only did you have to pay to get in some of these directories, now you got to pay to get out. That kind of holds you at your mercy.
So then, back to the big directories. Right now, we see this massive ranking boost for the bigger sites that sell legal listings. Since we're talking about lawyers, that's across the board. It's for everyone. Everyone who is, ranking right now seems to be these larger, like Yelp, for example, and that seems to have coincided with the pigeon algorithm. Doesn't this sort of go against what Google's goal has always been, which is, to provide, results to a real business? Or does Google now sending these lawyers to a directory of lawyers, is that enhancing the search because people have reviewed the businesses and there's comments about the businesses and stuff like that? What do you think about that?
I mean, that's a tough question, right? Yelp, first of all, they have some of the most accurate local results, so typically a lot of people go there. They have some type of partnership with Apple, so the Siri ratings, are affected there, and the reviews are very important. It's tough to say, right? What's the Google signals for when someone comes to Yelp and they're navigating around? They have 10 different choices, and as soon as they hit one of those choices, they navigate away. I mean, we've always been told that, a high bounce rate and low time on site numbers is bad, but, here's some concrete studies where Yelp and these other companies are ranking well. I think it has to do, again, from, the number of inbound links that they're getting. I mean, how many aggregator networks are they in? There's partnerships with Yext and some of these other major companies. They have a ton, an absolute ton of number of index pages, and they're funneling all of that link juice around, just like these other legal directories, and that's how they're ranking.
Got it. But I mean, clearly the local signals, because it's all local data aggregated, the NAP data and everything. I mean, clearly Google's taking that into consideration because we know Pigeon was a local algorithmic update where it sort of merged the organic and the local data together more, similar to the last Venice update. By the way, we've got one gentleman who also says Chris on his profile. He's got to turn his microphone off because there's a lot of noise coming in. Somebody who just joined, I'm sure you guys will see the little volume thing move next to him. But it says his name's Chris, but I don't see his last name. Oh yeah, Chris Limberopoulos. Cool. Yeah, if we could just get you to mute your mic, I think you did. We're good. Okay. So, anyways, yeah, I kind of got cut off, but yeah, go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same type of thing, right? Yelp's in constant. They're used by many people. One of the big problems with Yelp is getting those reviews to stick to, and those recommended versus non-recommended reviews, and we know that reviews are a major ranking factor for Pigeon. Who really knows exactly what changed for Pigeon. We know the 3-pack, the 5, the 7-pack, and the 10-pack. They aren't as visible. But yeah, consistent citations, NAP, name, address, phone number, reviews, use of title tags, centroid bias being located near the location, a user being located near the search will help and affect that. There's a lot of different factors that go into that, but definitely, Yelp is one of the best, and I think it's because they're so curated that they manually review every update. That the location and information is so accurate that I think that's why. And they have a big partner. Apple is a juggernaut for a partner for them.
But Chris, just for me and probably for a lot of the other people who traditionally did well in organic search until companies like Yelp knocked them out of their slots. Like for me, for example, when I go to the Yellow Pages, I don't want to open up the Yellow Pages and see another Yellow Pages. And isn't that essentially what this update has done? It's just showing you another Yellow Pages to look at?
Absolutely. I mean, you do a search for, in the most highly competitive areas for not only, that for Yelp, and I mean, FindLaw is just dominating right now. They were a major winner for this update. You go to some of the biggest locations and you type in, their geographic phrase plus attorneys, they're going to be at the top. And it comes down to, again, I think the number of inbound links and how they're doing it. They have this gigantic link network. If an attorney creates a new website, John Smith Law, and they put that footer arbitration link of findlaw.com, well, if that attorney works his tail off and he gets links from, Fox and Better Business Bureau, whatever, well, all of that link juice, a portion of it is going back to FindLaw. So it's just a huge network, and that's what most of these directories are doing. So I think to answer your question, I think the number of inbound links is outweighing the user experience in these cases. And I think that's why we're getting a lot more of these directory results, is just because, hey, we knew it in the past, we know it now. It's all about backlinks. You can only do so much on-site SEO. You can only make your content so good, which is, and it kills me, Google will come out, Matt Cutts will say, create quality content and the people will come and you'll rank. That's such bullshit. I'm sorry, it is. It's not going to happen, especially in the legal industry. It's too competitive. You have to get lots of backlinks from quality, high page rank sites. That's how you're going to rank. Look at your competitors on Ahrefs, see what they have, see what the top sites are ranking with. Go get those links. Find the common denominator. That's how you're going to rank. It's not going to be because you're William Shakespeare and you wrote this great piece of content. It's just not going to happen.
But Chris, isn't there always the risk that eventually Google's going to realize that this really is a little bit too gray hat to allow it to stand?
I agree. It's a challenge for anyone that's involved in SEO. Okay. Well, what I can tell you is the white hat. Your outreach, write this content. Go contact this person and get one link. It's not going to work. Chicago, LA, these areas. It might work in Southern Illinois, where I'm from, Carbondale, Illinois. You might be able to do some outreach and set up a college scholarship, outreach to some colleges, get some links. But when we're talking about on the scale of thousands of law firms competing for 10 positions on the first page, if that, who knows what happens? What's going to happen with the paid ads continually shoving down information on the fold? That's a whole different story. Look at July, the local sites. It's kind of funny. The 7-packs, all these are toned down percentage-wise. Authorship's gone, and thumbnail percentages are down. Well, so now the paid ads stand out a little bit more, and there aren't these distractions for someone's picture or a thumbnail. the paid ads go right with the organic. I mean, they look very similar. So, if you're a stock investor, you're loving this, right? Because Google already has the lion's share of the market, and now these distractions with authorship and thumbnails are gone. So, well, there's going to be more paid clicks. It's just going to happen.
But isn't it going to become so cost prohibitive that people can't do pay-per-click anymore because the bid scores are going to be so high?
I totally agree. I mean, criminal defense, personal injury, for the solo practitioners, the 10-person law firms, it is very, very difficult to compete in that market. I mean, you can do some things. You can do a Spanish campaign, cut down your CPC because there's not as much competition. You can, play around with the times a day. Remarketing is very popular right now for law firms because of the cost per click. But as far as search network, it's so difficult. I see a lot of people going over to Bing's network. You're getting a quarter of the cost for the exact same phrase. They're essentially copying Google. The client interface is nearly identical. Their whole platform's the same. The only difference is the user went to Bing to type in the search query instead of Google.
Chris, let me throw something in and hold your thought. One of the things that I'm getting from several people in my group is that Bing also is very quick to act and refund on reported click fraud. They seem to be more open to admit that it's very common, and they tend to be more liberal with reimbursing the actual click. Have you heard that yet, or do you know anything about that?
I have had more instances of that. I don't have concrete data where they do more or less, but yeah, they and they have excellent customer support. It seems like they're easier to me to get in touch with than Google, and Google has all these restrictions, right? Even an agency myself, I'm limited within a certain time period of when I can help optimize my client's pay-per-click.
Hey, this is Seth. Can you hear me? One thing that I've struggled with, and every SEO, it's a great talking point for seminars that we should get the cheaper clicks from Yahoo. Have you seen any data as to whether or not the clicks convert any better or worse? Not that Google's clicks convert that well, but one of my theories, particularly if you have a revenue-producing legal space like a criminal or immigration versus a contingency-based practice, is that the people still using Yahoo Bing, which is down, I hear, to less than 10% of the market, that many of these are not necessarily rational players, the person who's left it on their computer and doesn't really know how to change it. Any conversion stats? I know that they're cheaper clicks.
Well, as far as conversions, from the clients that I'm working with, they're doing great with Bing. We have some, actual data. The best way to do that would be to use dynamic tracking numbers, like callrail.com is a very good one. You can source out that, and you can actually measure the conversions. What I can tell you is the click-through rates are higher, and I think that's because of how their search is, on specific keywords. I mean, is the layout slightly different than Google. They occupy a little bit more real estate in some cases, so I think that's why the click-through rates are higher. But Bing and the Bing network and Google are the exact same, and each specific phrase goes into an individual auction, and depending upon the number of people in that auction, which because Google owns the majority of the market, there's not as many competitors in Bing. You're going to get a fraction of the cost. And it's one of those things. It's the most laser-targeted marketing you could do. You choose your keywords. You have complete control over it. You don't have to go after 1,000 keywords. You can get into the market very small, very controlled. Go after best criminal attorney. These type of terms that are going to convert at a higher percentage. But Seth, definitely a very good question. I think conversions are there. The user, the impression share is so low. It's a little bit more difficult to measure, but the best way to measure it would be CallRail. And from working the clients that I've worked with, I've probably, this year, 40, 50 law firms for pay-per-click. I'm seeing a lot of conversions for Bing. in those cases.
You know, Chris, I was just reading a comment by Adrian Castro. He's commenting over on the actual my profile page on this. You know, and he's saying that, you know, it's just going to be impossible. It's just the way it's going to be now, that because you'll never get the amount of backlinks that FindLaw or Justia or Yelp or any of these sites will have for big terms. You just aren't going to be able to rank anymore. That's just the way it is. You don't have any options, and so you have to optimize for, you know, long tail terms and terms that the directory doesn't already have a slot for. You know, like elder abuse attorney, for example. There's really no directory slots, at least in Yelp, for that yet. But, you know, basically there probably will be. Then it seems like we would lose that slot too. You know, this kind of brings me back to the whole, you know, I know guys like me and Seth, when we search for things online, like when I want to buy something, I want to buy bookshelves. I don't want to see the Yelp directory with a bunch of people who sell bookshelves. I want to immediately land on a really well-optimized website that has pictures of bookshelves. I can click on the bookshelves. I can spin them around, do a 360, look at them, read information about how they're built, which ones are better, you know, which ones last longer. Basically, a really well-siloed informational site that talks about bookshelves and just has a little mention of my location. I don't want to see a Yelp listing that has a bunch of reviews, because I can go to Yelp to look at their reviews once I've looked at their site and determined whether or not I like their products. But doesn't it seem like they're putting the wagon in front of the horse? And don't you think they should dial down the juice authority these sites have, based upon the fact that they're not really providing what the user is looking for? I mean, they're really not. Google is already a Yellow Pages. Why the heck are we being directed to another Yellow Pages? So I just wanted to bring it back into that.
You know, I totally agree 100%. You know, it's and Cuts has said, you know, many times, we're going to shift away from these link signals to user experience, but right now that's not the case. Okay, so if you want to rank, you got to get a lot of backlinks. Unless you're in a non-competitive area, that's just the way it is. You know, these big markets, you have to have a ton of backlinks, ton of index pages, and that's how you're going to rank. You know, so to answer your question, you know, I'm in one of these large areas. You know, say you're in one of these large areas where FindLaw's at the top, right? Well, first of all, if you want to have any chance of even ranking in the second through 10 positions, if they're number one, you need to be on that directory, because remember all those sites that every attorney bought that's funneling the link to, you know, the link juice to FindLaw? Well, if you're on that directory, it's going to funnel it to you too. So, you know, you know, if it's cost effective, you know, who knows, you know, what the price is, because they're all variable. But if it's cost effective, you need to be in it. You know, HT.org, you need to claim your free profile at Justia and get in that large network that they have of like 4 or 5 sites that send you like 4,000 links. And then, you know, and a lot of these tactics, yes, I'm gray hat. I'm talking gray hat. You know, there's no way around it. You're in the legal industry. You're not in a small area. If you want to rank, you're going to have to get links. You know, that's gray hat. You have to get them. Okay. Try to get the good links. Try to get the ones that are curated. Don't just throw yourself in, you know, spam directories. Try to do branded links, you know, with your firm name and co-citations with your personal name. You know, if you're talking about, I'm a car accident attorney in Houston, or Brian Smith is a car accident attorney in Houston. Well, you're talking about a car accident in Houston. Link Brian Smith, the car accident page, instead of, you know, the keyword car accident. You're going to have to do that. You're going to have to stay on top of your game, and you're going to have to get a lot of backlinks. In the future, yeah, I totally agree. You know, I think it's going to be user experience. I think Google can evolve at some point to, you know, give the most accurate and best results for the user experience. But right now, it's just not how it is.
But Chris, hold on a minute.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I know what you're saying, but in order to get, like, some of these directories won't even put a link to your own website. They force you to buy one of their websites, usually where they own the domain, or they won't even give you a link. So, I mean, how is that helping you? Unless you allow them, pay them thousands of dollars a month to add content to your site every month, and, you know, add links to their link directory. How do you do it?
And that's very tough. That's a very tough question. And many of you on this call would know that answer better than I would. For like Justia, they create these offsite blogs, and yes, you own the content, but if you want to convert over to a new domain, then convert to a new CMS, then you may lose all of the domain authority you've acquired. Same for FindLaw. Scorpion used to rent sites. It's very difficult. It's very difficult. So if you can use your own site and they allow you in, and they're probably gonna try to price you differently because of that, then you definitely want to control all your assets and have complete control over it. The other thing is, I see a lot of attorneys, they have these off-site micro niches. If you're a criminal attorney, create a DUI site. If you're a personal injury attorney, you want auto accidents, create an auto accident site. The most powerful page on your site is going to be the home page. And leverage them. I'm saying, if you want to be aggressive, there is risk. There is definitely risk. I'm not saying there's not risk here. But, in the footer, put the link to, try to provide a user experience. Be like, hey, our DUI site, you need to visit this, position yourself correctly. But, Cut said, in those videos I referenced, 2009, 11, 13, as long as you're not linking out to spam, that blog rolls, and he goes against himself. I've heard in other cases where, you're not supposed to blog roll at all, and, and widgets and areas like that and infographics are supposed to remove the links. So, there's some back and forth there, but I'm saying, you could put those, in the footer or site-wide locations to get a link from every page on those sites.
Well, do you have anything else to add, Chris? Because I know these guys probably have questions.
No, it's just, if you're in the legal industry, you see, a directory ranking above you, particularly FindLaw. And if you have an SEO strategy in place, and if it's cost effective, I mean, you're gonna try to get in that funnel with them. All of the other sites in there funneling that link juice. Might as well try to get involved with it. It's you're not going to convert a lot of leads from these, these lead gen sites. These are going to be low quality leads. You're going to be 10 people fighting for them. Just like the contributor answers on Avo. You got 20 people answering one question. But if you have an SEO strategy in place, if it's not too expensive, then I would definitely try to do it and utilize it. And I hate saying that, but that's just the way it is because they're ranking at the top. That's just the way it is right now.
Well, we have a comment here from Keith who's saying if you need FindLaw directory, feel free to contact him. And my response is, well, yeah, but they won't link to non-firm sites. And he said that LawInfo will. So there's, LawInfo was just purchased by FindLaw. So you could at least get something there, I guess, which might be an option because I think FindLaw does link to LawInfo. So you'd be able to get some residual juice that way. Just trying to throw some ideas together. And look, I just want everybody to know that I've always thought that FindLaw, for example, has a terrific product. I've just been very dissatisfied with the service. It makes me not want to do business with them. I don't feel that I've been treated well, and nor do many of my friends who are attorneys who have also dealt with them. I'm hoping with their new management change that will also change. But I don't have a lot of hope because I see sort of a take it or leave it sort of a mentality. And so, I hate to root against somebody that I'd like to do business with, but I just think that, the pride comes before the fall. So does anybody have any questions they want to ask Chris about any of this stuff that we've covered? Feel free. It's open session.
Hey, guys, that website that I was referring to is theshortcuts.com. If you have 30 minutes, just browse it, and that's going to give you some excellent information. Here, let me do a screen share really quick. I'll show you that one. If you just go to the home page, it's going to have every video from Matt Cutts, and it just has a summary So you can get updated very quickly instead of having to watch these, these lengthy videos. They do a summary, so it's a very helpful site.
You can also put that link in the sidebar too for people so they can click on it, Chris.
Yeah.
Just copy and paste it in there.
Yeah. Give me 1 second. I'll paste that in.
But yeah, I know a lot of you guys are here today because you're just like, what? Why are all these directories showing up as the first, second, and third organic results? It's crazy. I just spent all the last 2 years trying to get rid of all these directory listings that I thought were hurting me, and now I'm hearing, oh, what they really meant was quality directories, and these are quality directories. So just before I just wanted to say something before we go into the Q&A. Why not just create your own freaking directory on your website? I mean, why not you as an attorney create an even more high-quality directory like a subdomain on your site that's even more targeted, that's actually based upon other attorneys who you actually know and trust? Because you have the co-branding elements, and it's actually what Matt Cutts says you're supposed to do. Don't link to someone unless you know and trust them. I don't see how paying greenbacks to someone makes them more trustworthy than if Seth finds a great article on Mike Eline's website and links to it. It seems to me like that's probably a better link signal. So that's just an idea, guys. I'm going to start creating an attorney directory on my website. I mean, why not? If you can't beat them, join them. Anyways, go ahead, guys. Any questions, or Chris, if you want to pipe in on anything else?
Yeah, and Michael, there's some WordPress themes you can do with that. You don't have to spend a lot of money, guys. You can create microsites on a WordPress platform, Blogger. You can do a lot of things like that too. You don't have to create a 3,000 plus website.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. But just keep in mind, guys, that these plugins do have vulnerabilities. But it seems to me like you could create a really nice localized directory for your local areas and other areas that could be very helpful to your users. And then Charlotte wants to have a hangout. We're doing one now on Circle of Legal Trust, and our memberships are free, and we don't charge money to link out to people. They just have to participate and prove to us that they have quality websites. So, we believe that we're actually the only group out there in compliance with the search engine quality guidelines. So we're actually slowly building out that directory, and all the members will be able to benefit from that. And of course, all the members within our group, most of us have terrific websites, and I always go out of my way to link out to people who have good sites, who are within my group, because I know that they're trustworthy sources of information. But does anybody have any questions? Alexander, Charlotte, Lapin, Chris, Heath, Seth. So, that any of you guys have any questions related to these larger sites taking over, and what you think or what you're going to do about it?
And just to throw some more tips at you guys, besides these micro niches and participating in these directories, and I'm going to paste this in the sidebar. I would recommend that everyone that is at least somewhat interested in SEO get this service, Ahrefs. I'm not an affiliate. I don't get anything for it. I use it daily. Okay, it's going to show you the backlinks that come to your firm, to your website. It's going to show you your competitors' backlinks. So if you're in that fifth spot, and you see the guy ranking ahead of you a couple positions, plug his URL in there, see what links he's got, try to replicate his success. It might be the extra leverage that you need to rank. In the past, some of these paid options, some of the ones that he's referenced, Google has referenced as quality in the past has been Joe Ant, has been Best of the Web, and has been Yahoo Directory. So he has mentioned those as safer directories. Yahoo's like $300. Best of the Web, I think it's like $150. Joe Ant's like a $40 directory listing. Those are some other options. Obviously, legal industry specific links are going to help categorize you within the legal industry. Geographic specific links are going to help categorize you in local search. And then the high page rank authority links are going to help you in search as well.
I got a question, and Keith, if you could jump in as well now that you're a FindLaw employee. But both to both you guys, my question is there a cost-effective way of getting juice from FindLaw, of having that association? Every time I look at it, they're trying to sell me traffic, and I know that I'm not going to be happy, and the traffic won't really come the way that they chop things up. But what do you think is the best bang for the buck for that association, and with them that won't break the bank but gets you what you want?
I would definitely say, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
I would definitely say that just doing the profile, I believe you can buy that by itself. I can double check on what Mike just said regarding the firm site being a follow link from the directory, but I don't think that's correct. I'll have to double check.
Yeah.
But I mean, the profiles are anywhere from I think like $360 at max. That's like New York. But generally they're about $150, $750, and then I get a discount on those for you guys as well. And like you said, you don't necessarily have to do the directory.
But Keith, and this is something, and Chris, I'd like your thoughts on it. I look at that, I'm like, wow, $150 or $300 or whatever it is. So you're like, that's $2,500. You could do a lot of damage with $2,500, and with other authoritative places. I mean, is that and that's a throwaway for FindLaw. Do those profiles provide enough bang for the buck to be worth a couple grand?
Basically what I would do is, I would use that tool, Ahrefs. I would plug it in. I'd see if your competitors are doing it, see if they're ranking with it, see what other backlinks that they have. It's going to vary location to location, and price, obviously. For $2,500, you can do a lot. You can create a whole secondary site. So it's going to be different on a case-by-case basis. But in general, the leads that you're talking about that you're going to get from the traffic, we've all used these lead gen sites. I mean, in general, first of all, you're fighting over them with multiple attorneys. I would look at it more as an SEO strategy than I would a lead gen strategy.
Right, but Chris, have you seen any particular placements that have worked better? Look, assume that your competitors are using it, so you'd like to do it. It's a heck of a lot of money that you could do a lot of damage with outreach in other areas. Have you found any place you think is particularly good bang for your buck within the FindLaw family?
I have. I really did. I have. It just depends on the price, because each directory listing is different. I like several. Okay. Some little tips here, right? Nolo.com. You put you in this huge network, and their lead gen experience, in my experience, hasn't been very successful for my clients. Just their lead gen. But if you write an article and you post it on their site, well, it's permanent, right? You cancel their service, it's still there. Okay, so that's an idea. Lawyer.com. Okay, not lawyers.com. That's another high page rank. $99 a month, but go in there, post a ton of articles. If the $99 isn't cost effective, then cancel the service and your articles are still live. As far as the top links that I like, I really, hd.org, it's very good.
You haven't been concerned. I came in as you guys were talking about. You haven't been concerned that Google really whacked them, and that they may have some negative juice running to them because of their sort of gluttonous sale of links.
For hd.org?
Yeah.
Well, their page rank's still high. In my experience, you can throw out, you look at Panther Law, you look at all these sites, they're using hd.org, the top ranking sites. Okay, so, in a lot of cases I've seen that it's really helped my clients a ton.
And what about FindLaw specifically? Is there anything that you've used within them for your clients?
In most cases, there hasn't been a lot of cases where we've needed to, go get FindLaw to take it to the next step. But in a lot of cases, they've already had it. Because of the cost involved, and it's going to vary. the profile is going to give you one link, right? Where Michael's saying the profile link from FindLaw, but it just depends on the cost, right? If it's several $100s a month, then absolutely I wouldn't go that route. You could throw that into the Bing network for some paid clicks and get a greater ROI, or a remarketing banner on Google AdWords. Seth, that's a tough question. It's hard for me to answer. I'd have to look at it case by case basis. I would definitely use that.
Have you had success where somebody didn't have FindLaw, you used it, and was able to get a bump? And if so, was it just from a generic profile, or did you buy anything beyond just a generic profile?
I haven't. No, to answer your question, we haven't went that route. That's always one of the last steps that we do. In a lot of cases, a micro niche site or a lot of content curation. I know we got Neil on here. Scoop, it's working out really, really well for me for SEO. College edu links is working well. But yeah, that's one of the last things that I've even thought about doing. But in most cases, like I said, Seth, they've already had it. So that's something, just for the cost. It's so much money. I would go other routes first.
Gotcha. I know. By the way, Chris, I hear nice things about you from Dolman down in Florida.
Oh, great. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm really quick. I'm bantering over here with Keith. We were just discussing that to get your links on FindLaw, and you can't say links because you're not allowed to buy links, but let's reverse engineer what's going on here. A FindLaw profile that's paid for $150 to $200 a month in a competitive area, it's probably going to be $400 or $500 like LA, right? Just for one directory listing, you're looking at one link to your website. $380. So he's saying so $400 basically for one directory listing, which will never place anywhere in FindLaw. No one will ever see it because it'll be on page 5,000, for example, of their profile listings. Now, if you want to pay more, you can get the, and Keith, I'll let you take over after this. You can correct me wherever you think I'm wrong. But if you want to pay more, you can get their top slot or their spotlight listings, and then all of those that goes on every page that has a city. And those are all do follow links. So those are the guys who actually rank. People who can pay the big bucks for those spotlight directory listings actually have their link show up on the optimized page for Los Angeles car accident attorney. So they actually get a real link to their website from that page if they pay the big bucks. But the caveat is I understand it, you have to buy a firm site or actually lease it, right? You have to be on their server. You have no control over your site. You can't log into the control panel. You can't fix things and change things quickly that have to do with design or functionality. So you really lose a lot of control, and a lot of times they actually lease you the domain name itself because these are pre-built sites that they already built and just switched and converted to your use for the limited time that you pay them. So you can kind of see the problem that a lot of us guys have, Keith, is that we want to have our own sites on our own host, and yeah, we'd still love to pay for that spotlight listing if they didn't have all these hidden little rules that, oh, well, you can't have a link from us unless you buy our products. That's the big issue. It also seems like it goes awry with quality guidelines because they shouldn't force people to buy their products in order to have parity with someone who has their own brand and their own website. And so it's actually costing a lot of potential clients because we're like, wait a minute, I get one do follow on my profile while all these other guys who buy firm sites who aren't even really doing their own SEO are getting the good links when I really should be getting the good links because I'm actually doing the good work that Matt Cutts says you're supposed to do. Now, Charlotte's saying you can log into your control panel. Well, no, that's true. I get that. I know you have limited access to your control panel, but there's a lot of functionality that you don't have control over because I have a blog that I have on one of their hosts that I'd rather have on my own host. But in order for me to have links and be able to have anything, I've got to do what FindLaw says.
And Michael too. It's not only FindLaw, right? I mean, look at Justia's control panel. If you want to make a change to the title tag, and I'm an SEO agency, so I'm very picky about my title tags. This is one of the biggest ranking indicators. So I got to go to support. I got to request a change, and then they can deny you. Say no, we're not going to do it. I've had cases, actual cases of that. They say no, we're not going to change it. Well, that's another instance where where you don't own complete control of your site. You're at their mercy.
Yeah, that's the big problem, because there's a lot of guys like me, like most people I know, we want to have control over our brand. We don't want to place it in the hands of an SEO company that could someday get penalized. We want to make sure that, because of what happened with Penguin the last time, a lot of us are just terrified that if one of these big sites gets hammered, that, hey, we're going to get hammered along with it, and we'd rather have control over our own destinies. And so that's the eternal battle with directories like that. And I'm glad that I have Keith here, so don't think that I'm a FindLaw basher. Again, I love the product. I just don't like a lot of the decision making. I don't like it that they have people in upper management who don't even know the first thing about SEO, who have to be taught. So they're bringing people who have management skills, but this type of a job, it requires less management skills and more of an understanding of the algorithm. The people who understand the algorithm, the developers, the Bill Gates types are the ones who should be put into management positions because they can delegate things to someone they hired from a Fortune 500 company. But ultimately, the people at the top should be the ones with this vast knowledge, so they're not hearing secondhand from an underling who wants job security about how to destroy Mike Eline's site and advance another site that's paying them more money. Instead, they should be thinking more long-term that a group of attorneys like us could be beneficial to their bottom line. And so, again, I do have an ambassador for their organization here, Keith. And Keith, go ahead, talk for a few minutes, and sell us on the idea of having a profile listing for $400 a month and what value we're going to get out of that.
Well, that's what I was saying earlier, Mike, is I don't know if you're going to get enough of the backlink benefit, as you were saying, to make it worth it. I was looking at what you said, and I have a guy in LA, does wrongful death, doesn't have a firm site, has a top spot, and I looked and it's not a follow link. So kind of surprised me. So I'm going to see if there's something I could do.
That's because he doesn't have a firm site. But if you buy the firm site, then you get the follow link. So you see why, and so that kind of scares me because, wait a minute, isn't that like kind of selling links? If you don't buy my product, you don't get a new follow link.
Yeah, so I'm gonna ask about that and see if I can get him one, and then if not, I'll let you know. I'll follow up with you.
Yeah, it's actually worse. They're not just selling links; they're selling to get a link. You must buy a website.
Yeah, exactly. And then we have to own the website. We have to have total control over it. We're even going to put it
right. They're
taking your link juice with the footer attribution link.
Yeah,
so they're funneling it back to their main site.
All the links you build to the site go to your footer link to them too. It's just like, are you kidding me? They should be paying us, right? We're link building for them.
And not that anybody has any insight here, but Chris, just for shits and giggles, what's your thought? Any chance we're going to see an update to knock the big boys out of the top spots?
We talking 5 years from now, or are we talking in the near future? Near future, in my opinion, it's not happening. It's not happening. Backlinks are the biggest ranking signal. They have been for the last 10 years. It's, they talk about this user experience, time on site, bounce numbers. It's just not going to happen unless they make a major change to the algorithm. It's going to be about, you can only do so much on-site SEO. Like I said, you can only write an article that's, of such, especially in the legal industry, you can, and it's, a lot of industries, you can't just create these, the super content. You can only create it so well. You can put the different media, the YouTube, the pictures, and, make it more enticing so the on-site numbers are there. But the bottom line is you need backlinks. If your competitor has a lot of these backlinks and you don't, I don't care what Matt Cutts says about create this high-quality content, they're going to come. They're not going to come. It's just not going to happen. So you have to get the backlinks. And I don't see this changing, not for the near future. It could. And if it does, there's going to be a major shakeup. And it comes down to the bottom line, too, of, the paid ads and everything, you know, that's their moneymaker. You know, it's the same type of thing.
Well, if
and
you take
that's my opinion. I don't know.
Beyond this conversation, but I'll take the cynical view. Law is one of the few areas to date that Google has not jumped into. Like they're getting the travel, they're owning different search results where they monetize it, and it's almost like the ad budgets of these larger players like Thomson Reuters and Internet Brands Now and others is so large that they're sort of keeping them happy. I don't know. I don't have a great answer for it, but
I agree with you. I think it comes down to the bottom line. I think the Google shareholders are going to be very happy. You know, they just removed authorship. You know, what was wrong with authorship? You know, it took away from the mobile ads. That's what was wrong with it.
They had pictures that sort of took people down from the ads.
Mm-hmm. So, you know, as far as the user experience, you know, that's a joke. It's just not going to happen.
And then today, I don't know if you saw this, but they're taking authorship out of Google Analytics now.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't surprise me. You know, the less information we know, you know, the better for them. You know, it's the thumbnails. You know, for the videos have been toned down. The local results have been, you know, I don't have concrete data on this, but the localized results on some of the studies. There's one on Moz. I think Seth did one. Godwin, I think that's his name. I might be mixing up my SEO guru's names, but he talked about the scale down of the localized results. But July was, you know, massive for changes, and I think it comes down to, you know, they're trying to put more emphasis in the mobile sphere.
Well, guys, you know, it's been a little bit over an hour.
Thank you.
Yeah, you know, I want to have Chris back, and Chris, I'm inviting you to be a writer for the Circle of Legal Trust blog. I think you have a lot of good stuff. I'd like to have you post regularly on there, and if you can get us a little outline of what you talked about today, I'll embed the video into that.
Okay.
And if anybody else has any additional questions, go ahead and feel free to either email myself or Chris, you know, through our Google profiles. I've actually got to get dressed and head off to court, so I'm going to go ahead and shut this bad boy down. But feel free to, if anybody with additional questions, if Chris, you have a few minutes, just contact him directly through his Google+.
Yeah, guys, just send me an email, chris@attorneyrankings.org. If you have any questions, you know, I'll take a look. You guys want me to do some audits? You know, look at your stuff. You know, I'm happy to do that. That's fine. Give me some, you know, some advice on that. The fine law. You know, it may work for your, you know, it's case by case basis, you know. So, like I said, I would add the one thing that I would do is I would try to be as informed as possible, and you know, Ahrefs is going to be a great tool for you to have to be informed on your backlink structure and your competitors. So, I would definitely do that.
Talk to Keith too, guys, if you're interested in learning more about the different products. You know, FindLaw does have phenomenal products. I mean, I'm not going to powder coat it. I mean, Super Lawyers is unbelievable. Law Info is always a great product. Obviously, the FindLaw stuff is really good stuff. Again, it's just that I, you know, being a jarhead and everything, I don't like being deceived by salespeople who work for the company for 3 months and disappear. I've known Keith for a long time, and I trust him. Now the only thing is we got to make sure that his employers also honor what arrangement is brokered. And that's the big thing, you know, and we could probably all do business together in that case. So look, I'm going to split. You see the contact information there on the side for Chris. Go ahead and copy and paste that really quick, and give you a couple seconds to do that. Also, you know, we have Neil here with us. Neil Ferree is also a social media guru. So if you want to learn more about, you know, getting more reach in the social media world and building more social signals, which eventually is going to become more important, you know, you got to get with him too, so you're ahead of the ball when that happens. So that'll be it. Chris is saying that he's got a WordPress CMS.
Chris asked, you know, what's the best way to approach building your own website? You know, you can build, you know, first of all, WordPress, it was built as a blogging platform. It has great functionality. There's a lot of plugins. You can build one for actually less than $100. You know, there's a lot of free themes out there. So, you know, I may put up a blog in the next day or so to help you guys out with that.
Okay, guys, I'm going to go ahead and end this thing. Hasta la vista.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Cheers.